Back on the path, everybody. Right Path to Retirement, the podcast hosted by Jimmy Lynn, the president, founder, and of course, financial advisor at Right Path Wealth Management. Jimmy and the team would love you to be in touch at 702-805-7000 or going to rightpathwm.com. Get that complimentary consultation. At Jimmy, starting out 2025, you already told us in the last episode how busy you've been. You've had some seminars going on. If someone's hearing this for the first time, they may not even know exactly what one of these seminars are. Like, is it some big conference? Is it, are there thousands of people there? What is a seminar for a financial advisor like yourself?
That's a great question. Essentially, what we do is our whole focus is to educate the public. Specifically, most of these are going to be pre-retirees, people within a couple of years in retirement, or even those that are in retirement. And we educate them on just all the different topics that they don't teach in school. So when you retire, you got to start thinking about, how am I going to replace my income? How am I going to file for Social Security the right way? What are my healthcare needs? And how are those going to be covered? And it's just becomes really overwhelming, is what we found. And so we basically have an environment where typically it's going to be at a library. Sometimes we do it at a restaurant, but it's all about not selling people anything, but just educating them, having them think about their situation. And then something pops up in their mind when we talk about taxes or investments, and a kind of a bulb comes out in their head thinking, wait, I've never thought of that piece of it. So our focus is always, how can we provide more value? How can we educate our attendees on the nuances of retirement planning? Because there are, again, because we do this every day, we see a lot of gotchas out there that normal people just in their normal work week, they don't think about these different avenues that the government has, these little traps, right, that the government has that you can fall into. And so that's our job, is to just kind of lift the veil about retiring and let people know that in most situations, they can retire comfortably and without any stress, as long as they prepare in advance and do the right things to set themselves up for success. So that's all our goal. Our goal is to bring people in that want a little bit of education and hope that they leave with some information that they can implement immediately, but also give them the opportunity, if they'd like, to meet with us and kind of go a little deeper into their situation, see how we can give them some free information. That's why I always offer that during these podcasts.
How do people get to one of these seminars? If you're hearing this right now, like, oh, I'd love to go to a Jimmy Lynn seminar.
If they're hearing this right now, they contact our office, 702-805-7000, and we could let you know when our next event is. We typically have them a couple times a month in Summerlin and in Henderson. And so that's the easiest way, is just reach out to us, give us a phone call, go to our website, Right Path, that's rightpathwm.com, and reach out to us there as well. Send us a message and we can let you know the events that we have coming up. We generally have them scheduled out 2 or 3 months in advance, so there should be something to meet anyone's schedule.
Oh, certainly do that, rightpathwm.com, or dial them up 702-805-7000. Now, we're going to seek into talking about either retirement hobbies or the drive to do what you really like in retirement. And first, we're going to talk to hear what Nikki Glaser said at the end of her monologue at the recent Golden Globe Awards. And Nikki definitely known for drawing an edgy punchline. I promise this one is radio and family friendly. Listen up.
Well, before we start handing out awards, I do want to remind you, if you do lose tonight, please just keep in mind that the point of making art is not to win an award. The point of making art is to start a tequila brand so popular that you never have to make art again.
Yes. So if you're right there at the edge of retirement, though, you retire for the right reasons there. Nikki Glaser, it's not noble. It's just trying to get it so you can get to the thing you want to do, right? Well, maybe not for you, but here's the deal. Here's kind of the story of the day, and we're going to use it to seek into retirement planning. Jimmy, is Dale Earnhardt Jr., a NASCAR Hall of Famer, one of the most famous NASCAR drivers of all time, and even in semi-retirement still is the straw that stirs the NASCAR drink. He is taking his race team that he's run in NASCAR's lower division, the Xfinity Series, and is going to make his Cup Series debut and attempt to run the Daytona 500. Now, those are hearing this podcast right now. This will be right at the eve of when this is happening, so they may or may not have even made the race by now. But the point is, he's partnered up with Chris Stapleton, the country music stars Travelers Whiskey brand and driver Justin Allgaier, and they're going to attempt to make the Great American Race, a race that Earnhardt Jr. as a driver has won 2 times. Also attempting that race are 2 other semi-retired drivers, 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson, semi-retired, like I said, and Martin Truex Jr., the 2017 NASCAR champion. Now, I'm using that as a way to talk about NASCAR, Jimmy. And yes, I host a NASCAR podcast called 5 to Go. Okay, but here's why I bring it up. These are guys that have already been at the peak of their career, although they're not typical normal people retiring age, and they're diversifying their time with what one could say is an expensive hobby or business venture. So how do you coach someone in retirement who either wants to do an expensive hobby or do something that creates more income like a part-time job that could have tax implications? So how do you coach someone through either tackling something expensive or something that has tax weight on it there in retirement?
Well, first of all, Doug, I love the fact of what they're doing because, what we tell people all the time, and whether it's a seminar or a meeting, we always encourage this is you don't want to retire. You want to retire to something, right? Because there's the misconception that, you've worked 20, 30, 40 years in various careers, or sometimes the same career and maybe even the same company, and you're just exhausted from that and you want to stop and you want to retire and just take it easy. And studies have shown that when you just stop working and you're not retiring to something, you're kind of oftentimes your health deteriorates, you're bored, your mental health may not be there. You got to make sure that you stay social and you're retiring to something. So I love the fact that these guys are all taking the careers that they built their wealth on, and then they may have retired, but they didn't stop working and they didn't stop having goals. And now they're just kind of probably just got them to this point that based on the income that they made and the investments that they made, they're able to now make the decision of what they want to do, right? So it's more like work optional or do what your passion is. So I think that's beautiful.
Dale Jr. is doing it as an owner. Jimmy Johnson's doing it as a co-owner and a driver. And Truex Jr. is doing it just as a driver. They all 3 have multiple side businesses too. Okay. So it's, besides co-owning race teams, it's really, when you have that much money, of course, you have the ability to diversify, but they're certainly not back on easy street with their feet up.
Right, absolutely. And I think the point of the story is really, anyone can do it. You don't have to have made millions in your career and then jump into an expensive hobby that's going to cost you a lot of money in retirement. I think that this really the concept is what I really love is that you can be an accountant for 20 years, or you can, in Las Vegas, you could be a pit boss manager at a casino for 30, 40 years and just do the grind. But, you're working hard, you're doing all the right things, you're saving that money, but you always want to have that next phase in your life. Once you hopefully become financially free, and the way to really be financially free is to minimize those debts that you have, make sure you save for retirement, and then you have a plan for some type of income stream so that when you do retire and you figure out what that hobby is, whether it's an expensive hobby or it's something that just you really love, you're able to do that without worrying about where my next paycheck's going to be. And that's really going to give you the joy, because now whether it's work, it's going to be work optional, right? Or whether it's a hobby like race car driving that obviously not all of us can do, but something that is your passion. Maybe you pick up pickleball, right? You're just passionate about pickleball and you want to join every league and you want to play every tournament, whatever the case may be. The only way to truly enjoy it, like the Earnhardts and the Jimmy Johnsons, is to first create that financial freedom and have that plan where where the money's coming from to pay your bills and to pay for these hobbies. Because once you have that in place, then you have the joy and the freedom to do these things. And I think that's really encouraging. And I love that this is an example of that. And I encourage all our clients to really think about what their next phase of life is, not what are you just want to retire. What are you retiring to, I think is the point that I want to come across.
What are you retiring to? Yeah, that's a good way to be thinking with that foot forward. Yeah, what to retire to. Do you have any stories, Jimmy? I'm putting you on the spot maybe. Do you have any stories of someone who has completely remade themselves in retirement in a way like they were, I don't know, an accountant or a financial advisor, and then suddenly they're running a mango salsa stand, like something completely different that they just, because they had the time to focus on art or a passion or just a totally different interest?
I'll give you a perfect example of what's an inspiration to me right now. It's someone I've been working with recently. Is this gentleman was literally a rocket scientist. So
Wow.
literally, like, you sit down and talk to him, and you could talk for hours about like things that go on in the world that he had kind of an inside look into. I sat down and talked to him just about some of the patents that are going to be released. When he actually specifically talked about the Trump administration, day one. So I don't know if this actually happened yet. There was going to be a release of a ton of patents that were going to just advance technology far beyond what any of our normal common folks like us could even imagine could happen. Right. So this is just to illustrate what level of thinking this gentleman is. His whole career was, like literally, I believe he was a rocket scientist. But from that point, once he was at a point where he was comfortable enough to actually retire, what he's doing now is completely different. Now what he does is he contributes his time to a local art school where it's for musicians. He hosts musical events at his home annually. And, what drives him every day is thinking, how can we grow this school? How can we have more people participate? Because, it's youth. It's going to be kids that are, elementary, middle school age that are attending these. And his goal is to build a school that's going to be able to include more people and be able to really teach and create great music in the community. And so it's such a big shift. And I got to imagine it was really him following as a passion, right? Because if you spent your whole career being able to generate income, make investments so that you could set yourself up to really do what you love, which seems completely opposite of what his career was. But he's able to do that because he did the right things as far as investments and setting himself up for the right income plan. And now he's able to just spend his entire retirement doing that. And the joy that I see every time I see him as far as the accomplishments of everyone that's attending is just amazing to see.
The joy of the rocket scientist who turned to art in retirement. That's a really cool arc. And he made it basically by being really disciplined at one point in your life, you could give yourself the freedom to do something else. A lot of times people see discipline as a form of prison, but it's actually, a key to the right path, right, Jimmy? So if someone's hearing this and they want to have that conversation with you about how to better structure things so they could not just be a wart on a log in retirement, what do they do?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to reach out to us and have that same meeting that we have with all of our clients and all the prospects, including our rocket scientist example here, please call us at 702-805-7000. Reach out to our office and schedule that complimentary consultation. There's no obligation. It really just is our opportunity. Sit down and talk about your specific situation, anything that you should be concerned about, and things, just great advice that we can give you to help implement a plan. So I encourage everyone to reach out by phone, 702-805-7000, or go to our website, rightpathwm.com.
Our last episode was about the uncertainty of the economy because of maybe inflation and maybe the geopolitical situation. This episode is, just, as you've heard, about how to structure things in retirement to free you up to what you really want to do so you can be active. Both of them, Jimmy, had two key elements. You need a plan. You need somebody to walk you through it. And that is you, Jimmy Lynn. So thank you so much for spending the time at least coaching us on how to begin that process. And of course, reminded people that it is a complimentary consultation to talk to you. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Doug. And I always look forward to doing these. So I can't wait for our next one.
I can't wait either, Jimmy. And he is Jimmy Lynn, president, founder, financial advisor at Right Path to Retirement, the podcast here that you can find on Apple and Spotify and other podcast channels and on the media page at rightpathwm.com. Thanks to our producer, Daniel Salerson, for getting this produced and put out into cyberspace, and to all of you for listening. We're so thankful for you. Thanks to Jimmy. He's Jimmy. I'm Doug. Happy New Year, and thanks for listening to the Right Path to Retirement podcast.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Right Path Wealth Management. Right Path Wealth Management is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Right Path Wealth Management are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Right Path Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained by sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Right Path Wealth Management.